All right, guys, so we're live tonight. It is January 24th, and I'm going to just take care of getting a little background music streaming for us here, just a little mood music. We'll get that going, and then we will go to tonight's fun. So what I'm planning on doing tonight is showing you guys Nina and actually showing you how to set up a focuser, and I feel like I'm a little underexperienced to do this. This is actually going to be the first time that I've really thoroughly done this according to some other great YouTubers' instructions. Patriot Astro is the one that I learned this from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to, let's see, actually I wanted to switch over to the full desktop. So this is my desktop here in the house. My system is set up outside. You can see my rig set up out there. I've got a little Wise Camera V3 that's kind of broadcasting our image here. And so we're going to go back to the desktop. On the telescope out there, there is a small Intel Nuke computer, and that's basically running everything. And what I do if I go back to this outdoor, shot, is you can see a cable that's kind of coming off the back of the telescope. That's a Cat5 cable that's running underneath that chair there, and that chair runs in through the window and is hooked up to my desktop here. So my desktop is actually connecting to the internet wirelessly for internet, but it's connected hardwired to control the computer that's outside. And the other cables there are the power that are going to the computer. I've got a AC power actually going to the mount, and DC power in that cardboard box there is actually running the computer on board and the telescope and everything else. So again, we'll switch back over to the desktop here, and we'll go to Team Viewer. So now this is actually, I'm going to make this full screen. So this is actually the desktop of the computer that's outside. And right now the only thing I've got running is the Pegasus Astro, just to keep me on track for the temperature and stuff, and the Ioptron Commander, which is the software that controls the mount. So you can see that the mount is connected here. Oh, let's minimize that. I'm not sure why it went all full screen like that, but anyway, we can minimize that. So this is the software that talks to the mount. It's ASCOM compatible software. The GPS is locked up, and we are going to go ahead and go to, what are we going to go to first? I'm going to go ahead and launch Stellarium, because Stellarium is the only program that for some reason Nina does not launch in the background. So we'll launch Stellarium, turn around my view to the south here, and we can see that it is connected. If I zoom in, we can see that it is connected to the Ioptron Sim70EC, which is my mount that's outside. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'll be switching back and forth between Stellarium, Nina, and also the outdoor camera, so you guys can see where things are. Alright, so we're going to launch Nina. Mike Jerry's in the house. Hey Mike, thanks for joining. All right. Had a good time with you last night. That was fun looking around. All right, so this is the opening interface of Nina, and once you have all of your equipment, the way Nina works is you have basically two rows of tabs over here, but the equipment tab lets you set up all of your equipment. And you can see the filter wheel is the ZWO, the Nightcrawler is the focuser, and also the rotator. The telescope is the Ioptron. The guider is going to be guiding via PHD2. I have no switches. I have no flat panel hooked up right now. Weather is an open weather map API that will just give me my current local conditions. Local for Henderson, Nevada, which is where I'm at. So anyway, you go down here and hit the power button, and it asks if you want to connect all devices. And if you get a bunch of green check marks over here in the right hand column, that means everything is good. And the last one that usually comes in is PhD once it actually connects. So there it goes, guider connected. That one error there, invalid response from flat panel, that's okay, because like I said earlier, we don't have a flat panel hooked up tonight for doing flats, so we can just go ahead and close everything, and we can go back to our Nina interface. So I just bought a new focuser. Go back to the outside camera here. On the back end, well, you can't really see it from this angle here, but on the back end of the telescope is my new Moonlight focuser. I just got it last Saturday, and I have fooled around with it a few times this week outdoors, just kind of, again, kind of like I'm doing tonight, just checking random things out. But I realized that my autofocus wasn't very well and working very well. And the reason it wasn't working very well is because all I did was change the ASCOM driver over to the Moonlight focuser from my Pegasus Astro focuser, which is what I was using before, and the settings were all wrong. So I have gone through everything, and we're going to start from scratch. So you can see all of the gear is connected here right now. I'm going to go to the Options tab, go to Autofocus. Now, this is where you set everything for your focuser. Every focuser is going to be dependent on your focuser brand and type, and also the focal length. The step size is one of the things that we have to be worried about, and the backlash in and out is something we have to be worried about. Autofocus initial offset steps. So what autofocus does is it creates a V-curve, which you'll see shortly. And what it does is, the first thing you have to do is you kind of have to find the general good focus. So we're going to go over to the camera. I'm going to go ahead and turn the cooler on, even though we don't really need it. Oh, you're still, thanks. I'm sitting here talking about all of this stuff in the interface. Thanks, Mike, for saving that. That's what happens when you got too many different sources to punch through here. I did that the other night in my 7-hour broadcast. I ended up spending 10 minutes talking on one channel on the outdoor camera. So appreciate you catching that. Keep me honest here. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll go back and I will show you what we're looking at here. So we're going to go to Options, Autofocus. This is the setting, the control panel where you basically program in all the settings. You've got autofocus initial offsets that we have to be concerned about. The type of curve that we're going to do. I've been using parabolic, but I've been told that I should try hyperbolic, so we're going to do that tonight. Autofocus step size, the default setting is 50, and that's what I had it on for my my Pegasus autofocuser focus cube, and that focuser is a very coarse compared to the fine settings of the Moonlight Nightcrawler, so definitely have to make some adjustments to that. And this is our exposure time for focusing. Backlash, right now you see they're both set at 0. You only set 1. So the other thing you want to do is you can't change this setting where it says offshoot. Overshoot. You cannot set that while the focuser is connected, so I would have to disconnect the focuser, and there's I forget what the two, absolute and overshoot. You don't want to be on absolute, you want to be on overshoot, and you also only want to dial in backlash either on the inside or the outside. You don't want to do both, because then the focuser would just be fighting itself. So let's go to our camera, and I am going to take a 5-second exposure just to see how close to focus we are. So this will be the actual first exposure coming in for the night here. And it'll pop up here in a second. Alright, so okay, so focus right now actually looks pretty good. I'm going to Clear autofocus. I want to go to focuser. Where is my focuser tab? Here it is. So right now the focuser is setting at 34,939. So I'm going to change that to 35,039 and move the focuser, and then I'm going to take another image and I'm going to see if these stars, we're kind of doing everything manual to begin with here. Let's see, looping was turned on and off. Let's see. So we're going to take a 5-second exposure here and compare that to the last one. So we moved basically 100 steps on the focuser. And I think that actually got a little smaller. So let's go to 139, 35,139. And take another exposure and see if the stars get, you want to start out as close to good focus as possible. Still getting a little better, so let's do, I'm going to do a big jump here, 339. So we'll move the focuser and we will take another exposure here. I'm looking at this star right here. If it gets smaller, we're getting more and more in focus. If it stays, it is getting smaller. So our focus was way out. Let's do 539. This is, fortunately, this is sort of like a one-time only thing that we have to do. I was so anxious to get started using the focuser this week that I never bothered to even do this, what we're doing tonight. Still getting better. We're going to make a big jump. 939. And let's let it get to 35,939. And take another exposure. We're gonna watch this star right here and see if it gets bigger or smaller. I think it looks like it started getting a little bigger there. So let's back up to 839. All right, so we'll see what we do, how this turns out. We will eventually get to some pretty images tonight. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think our image is pretty close to good focus right now. I can turn off the annotations, I believe. Yep, but we'll go ahead and we'll leave them on for right now. All right, so we're going to go back to our focuser settings, and we're going to go to Options, Autofocus. And what I want to do is, now that my camera is in focus, I'm going to change this to, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do anything right there right now. I'm trying to remember Patriot Astro's video, so bear with me here. So we are at 35,839. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in on a star here that's pretty close to the middle. And what we want to do now that we're in good focus, is I want to start making changes, and I want to keep making changes, and I want to keep track of this number at 35,839. I kind of wish this was 40. Let's just change it to 40. It's just going to make me doing the math here a little easier here. So we're at 35,840. Now I need to get a pencil, make a note of that. We're starting out at 35,840. So we're going to watch this star right here in the center of the screen, and I am going to add 100 to it. Add 100 to it. So that's 35,940, and we're going to move. Okay. Now we're going to take another exposure, and we're going to watch this star really close, and we're going to see if it changes size. We want to just pay attention to the diameter of this star. Okay, it moved a little bit because we're not guiding on it. I probably ought to start the guider up and just get guiding on it. I don't think it really changed size that much, but you know what? I do want to go ahead and and get guiding. So let's select some stars here and just start guiding. I did not do a calibration, and I just set everything up today, so it may not be guiding perfectly. In fact, it's going to probably look really ugly because I actually had to remove, when I pack everything up, I have to remove the guide scope and everything, so you're supposed to redo your calibration every time. We will do that later. For now, I just want to make sure that this star kind of stays in my frame here. So 35940 did not change, so we've now moved 100 clicks, I guess you would say. So we're going to go to 36040. 36040. We're going to move. Let the scope settle. Take another exposure. Watch this star, and let's see if it grows. Okay, it definitely grew there. So we've moved 200 clicks, and so now what we want to do is we want to go back to our autofocuser, and we want to change our autofocus step size from 50 to 200. And I'm going to leave the backlash set at 0 right now, and we're going to just run an autofocus routine. So we'll go back to the imaging tab here, go back out, and I am going to go to autofocus and tell it to start an autofocus routine. So what it's going to do is take a photograph. It's going to measure the HFR of the stars, which is half flux radius, which is basically a fancy word for saying the half of the diameter of the star. The larger the star is, the more out of focus it will be. So the numbers that you're looking at on the bottom of the graph here is the focuser position. Remember, we started out at, well, it started out over here, but it moved. I'll explain that to you in a minute. And you can see it's moving 200 clicks each time, and now it's making a V curve, which is what this is here. And this scale at the side here is our radius of our stars. Kind of curious why it did this little jump here. It should have been a smooth sort of U shape or a V shape here. Could have been a little breeze popped up and the scope vibrated that caused this star to be kind of out of position, but so we're going to let it finish here. Okay, so it's finished, and it says basically, oh no, it hasn't finished, so it's still going. So Jay Palenko, am I pronouncing your last name right? Yeah, I love Nina too. Nina's an awesome program. All right, so it found the best focus, which it says is right in here, and it's automatically moved back to that position. So we are going to go and we are going to take a exposure at what the software thinks is the best focus. I'm going to do this several times because so this is a good start here because the HFR is picking up on this 330, 3.30. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to autofocus again and see if we come up with a smoother curve here, because the focuser is right now in this position and we haven't added any backlash to it at all. So we want to Jason. Okay, Jason. I did say it correctly. Okay, I'm horrible with proper nouns, so I'm surprised I got it right. Okay, focuser is autofocuser is running its routine again. So, Jason, I don't know if you just joined us, but what I'm doing tonight is I just bought a new focuser for my scope, and I'm setting up the autofocus routine in Nina. Something I learned from another YouTuber, Patriot Astro. It's very curious that my autofocus routine we'll talk about flats in a little while. I'll tell you what I do. that focus routine is just all over the place. Crazy, isn't it? I'm going to let it go ahead and finish and check the guiding. Yeah, guiding I knew would be way off because I did not do a calibration before we started tonight. So now the ASI Air Pro, I'm not familiar with the ASI Air though, so I don't know how much I'll be able to help you with that, but I'll give you a little bit of advice. The focuser is a Moonlight Nightcrawler. It's a focuser and rotator combo. I guess it's possible that I need to put some backlash in. I have not added any backlash just yet, but this is a very weird graph here. I'm not understanding this at all. These focus points should follow this arc right here fairly smoothly. They should definitely not be doing this, and they should not be doing that and that. I mean, if this focus point was down here and this one was closer to here, that would be good. So let's go to options. I'm going to change my, I'm going to add some backlash. I'm going to add backlash of 50 and just see if that changes this focus routine here. So we'll go back to imaging. Let's see, it did not give me a measurement on this star this time. I wonder why it just randomly chooses stars. My step size, okay, so step size right now is 200, which I'm thinking for 75 is the step size that I had for my Pegasus Astro Focus Cube. And I watched a guy do a focus routine with the Nightcrawler, the Moonlight Nightcrawler, and he set his step size at 700 because it's such a fine focuser. I think there's something like 30,000 steps, and it only travels a 9/10 of an inch. So, or maybe there's 64,000 steps. I don't remember the exact number, but all right. So let's go back to imaging and go to autofocus again. Boy, we have to get a smoother curve than that. Is the background music too loud or okay? Somebody tell me if the background music sounds all right. Okay. Yeah, we're all over the place again with this focus routine. I don't know what you're saying no to, Jason. No to the background music being too good, too low, or too high, or what? Look at that. That is a crazy. I mean, before I even changed any settings. Oh, it's a bit loud. Mike is saying it's a bit loud. Okay, well I can change that. I kind of figured it was too. I can't listen to it at the same time. Look at how crazy this V curve is here. This is okay. Both agree that it should be lowered, so I just lowered it, and it should be at a better level now. I was just looking up at the autofocus failed. Yeah. Okay. So something is wrong here. Let me take this backlash out again. And I'm going to change my focus step size. I'm going to just go crazy on it. I'm going to go to 500 because somebody else with a Moonlight focuser, and they were shooting at, I think, 1,000 millimeter focal length. I'm shooting at 1,200, so fairly similar. But let's... I'm wondering if my guiding being so bad right now. Yeah, the ZWO focuser is like the Pegasus Astro as far as the number of steps that it has. The Moonlight Nightcrawler is really, it's kind of on a different level. I got tired of the backlash on the Pegasus Astro focuser. Oh, you do a double exposure for each position, huh? That would probably, our seeing should be really, really good tonight though. So okay, so our curve is actually starting out a lot, well, I'd say a lot better than the last two that I've done here. So let's see where this goes. So maybe my step size just needed to be jacked up to 500. It's kind of weird. There's a little bit of backlash. You can see it's not headed down at the same rate that the other ones are. So there's probably a little bit of backlash that needs to be dialed in. But this is getting much, much closer to what we're supposed to look like. I would say this is going to come up with a pretty decent focus this time around. All right, so has it finished? It has. And let's go back to our image here. Hey, Mitch. No, you know what, Mitch? If you want to chat with the guys in here and don't look up, I did tell you, didn't I, that I did finally watch the movie? Yeah, I did, because I told you shamed me into watching it. Yeah, I still just. That's 2 hours I'll never get back. All right, so focus is good tonight. Focus is much better right now. So, is it possible? It can't be possible that this focus... Oh, no. We do have... let's go back to our... We do have a little bit of backlash here. That's why it took a little bit of a dive there. So we're going to go in and we're going to set a backlash of, let's just say 20. And we're going to give this focus routine another shot. See how it comes out this time around. My buddy Mitch is always sending me links to videos to watch on YouTube, or he's sending me links to movies I need to watch. See, Jason agrees too. 2 hours that he wasted on that movie. The problem I have, Mitch, and I've been waiting actually for us to talk in person so I could explain it to you, is, I know everybody in the media was saying, it did have its funny moments. Yes, it did. But I know everybody in the media was saying, well, it's supposed to be, about global warming. Well, you know what? Asteroids hitting the planet are just as bad as global warming. So if you're going to make a movie that's supposed to symbolize the problem with the government not dealing with global warming, then make it about global warming and call it Don't Heat Up or Don't Cool Down or something silly like that. I don't know. But if you're going to make a movie about an asteroid hitting the Earth, it's going to be about an asteroid hitting the Earth, and it's a very realistic thing. I mean, just a few nights ago, we actually had an asteroid flyby. It was one of my last live streams that we did. But, boy, look at that curve there. Oh, is that not the sweetest V curve you've ever seen? That's about as good as it gets right there. So watching Patriot Astro's video on setting up the autofocus routine in Nina, I finally, for the first time, understand what this curve means, and like, I never knew, like, when you had a point that starts here and then the next point comes here and the next point comes here and then all of a sudden it starts taking a dive. I never even realized that was backlash related. So this is about as perfect a V curve as we're going to get. So let's go look at my settings. So I have a step size of 500 and I have a backlash. I'm using the overshoot method, and I have a backlash out of 20 set. So I would say that we have successfully... Okay, so since we're talking about Don't Look Up, my problem was the very opening scene when Jennifer Lawrence, the astrophysicist or the astronomer, whatever she is sitting inside the observatory right next to the telescope with all of these lights turned on. And I was like, oh, God, that's just so technically like not realistic. I mean, but I understand why they do it because it's a movie and they've got to have pretty scenes or whatever. But the astronauts don't even sit in the actual dome with the telescopes. They're actually in a control room that's in a separate building because even their body heat and any type of light can interfere with the instruments that are on the telescope. So it really got under my crawl there right at the very beginning with that opening scene, and I couldn't recover from that. My wife and I started watching it, and we made it all the way to the point where they were in the Oval Office meeting with President Meryl Streep. And at that point is when I realized, oh, this is not a serious movie. This is supposed to be a comedy. See, nobody told me it was a comedy. So we just stopped. I rolled my eyes at my wife. She did the same thing to me, and we were like, no, I've had enough of this. Okay, so getting back to my man, you know what? I got to take a screenshot of this. This is like the best. I think this is the best V curve I've ever seen. I'm going to save this so I can share it with some buddies of mine. So we'll just put that on the desktop for now. All right. Discard. So we're back live here now. All right. Oh, you know what? So the only thing that we have to work on now, I definitely don't want to change the autofocus step size and the backlash. While I say that, the autofocus initial offset steps is what we have to look at now. So when we look at this curve, it offset 1, 2, 3 positions, and that's what this number 3 right here is. So I like that it did the curve fast, but also something I learned from watching Patriot Astro is that you want your best focus, which is this point here, which if this is 3.5, I'm going to say 3.5 to 4. This is probably about 3.25, and you want it to be 3 to 4 times more at your outset setting, and so we're definitely not at the out setting. So we can change that by either adding more offset positions, which will take longer, or we can increase our autofocus step size, I think. So let's remember 500, and I'm going to change this to 750. And then we're going to go do our autofocus routine again and see if we still get a perfectly beautiful V curve there. So now it's only going to move three steps, but each one of those steps is going to be 750 on the focuser. All right, so we're starting out much more out of focus. We're almost at 7 on the HFR, which is good, but let's see if we get down to 3.25. It looks like we're headed that way. Okay, we're down to 4. Okay, so 7 to 3.25-ish is where it looks like it's headed. All right, Jason. I'll see you in a little while. Okay. You see, I still don't think it's a far enough range. This is at about 3.4, it's a little less than 3.5, so 3.4 times 3 would be about 9. So these focus points need to be up around 9 here. So we still have a beautiful V curve though. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 1000. And we're going to go back to imaging and we're going to try this routine again. Our goal is to get our worst focus point and our perfect focus point to be about between 3 and 4 times different from each other, according to that number that's in the left-hand column scale there, this scale right here. So our first focus point this time came in at about 8 1/4, 8.3 maybe. It's going to take a quick dive now because this is 1,000 steps between here and here on the focuser, which sounds like a lot, but when the focuser has 64,000 points, I think, I don't know, it's not in microns, I don't know what the reading is, but there's 64,000 individual steps on the focuser. Still have a really good looking V curve forming here, and I think we're going to be about where we need to be. Should do one more exposure, I believe, 1 or 2 more. All right. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a good curve. So we have from roughly 3.5 up to 9, so that's almost 3 times. I could probably go even more drastic on the step size, couldn't I? Let's go, boy, I'm going to go all out here. Let's go 1,400. And let's see what that does to my V curve here. Mitch, are you still there? I know this is boring because there's no pretty pictures to look at yet, but I am going to get to pretty pictures later. Everybody's awful quiet in the chat. I know Jason stepped away. Mike, are you still there? Who's with me tonight? Look at my feed on my Facebook and subtract 1 viewer, and that should tell me who's here. Maybe no one. All right, what are we doing here? All right, I think this is where we want to be, guys. We have a beautiful looking curve. We have no backlash. Oh, Mike's fixing dinner, in and out. No problem, Mike. I think we have the beautiful curve coming in here, though, and we have just enough difference between the best focus point and the worst focus point. So I think we have nailed down our autofocus routine. Yes, so it is moving. All right, so it has found perfect focus. All right, so that is our curve here, and this one is even better than the last one, so I've got to take a screenshot of this to share with a few people. All right, save. Desktop, save. All right, go away. Okay, autofocus is settings are done. I've got a step size of 1,400. I've got a backlash of 20. It settles for 2 seconds before it takes a 3-second exposure. I'm going to just change look at my settings here. I'm going to start out with this 3.5 times 3 is 10.5. So you look, yes, I agree. So yeah, so I think we're good. I think we're good with this focus, with this focuser. So now we get to move on to some fun stuff. Let's go see what we can find in this guy. Although I want to change this to 0.85. I'm not exactly sure how to explain this, but it has to do with how fine a adjustment of focus it does whenever it focuses a second time. If it focuses a certain point better than it did the last time, then it accepts it, and if it focuses worse than it was focused before, then it trashes it and goes back to the previous focus setting, is the way I understand that. So, all right, so focus is done. And now, before we actually start imaging, I'm going to calibrate my focuser. Ooh, because my calibration is way off. That's embarrassing. Clear that before anybody sees it. So we will start. I don't even know what my scope is pointing at. My scope is pointing at it's still pointing at, oh, you know why? It was pointing at the North Pole, so that's why I don't think it was even tracking. we have to go find something first. Yeah, so let's go find something up in this part of the sky. I guess I could go over to the Andromeda Galaxy, although I'm only going to see a tiny fraction of it. But you know what we can do is we can adjust the rotator. I'll show you how the auto rotator works in this, Jerry. So I'm not sure that this is the current position or not. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the best angle is here. But you know what? Let's do this. Let's go back to something like this, and I want to, rather than center up, I want to try to frame up. Oh yeah, you have the 60. That is a nice mount. Yeah, I just got the 70. All right, so this is going to be our frame right here on the Andromeda Galaxy. So what I'm going to do is go to framing, and I'm going to ask it to get the coordinates from the mount. Actually, get the coordinates from the planetarium software. So it's going to download an image that we're looking at here, and this is the way, according to the software, it is framed up. So what I'm going to do is tell the telescope to slew, center, and rotate to that position. And if we go back to imaging and move this off to the side, you can see outdoors the camera is now moving over to Andromeda Galaxy. And it is settling now. It's actually doing the first 5-second exposure, so we should have an image come in here in a second. So what it's going to do is, you can see that it's off, obviously. Andromeda Galaxy's there. But the camera is the ASI 2600 mm. It's a monochrome camera. So it is now moving the rotator to match the correct position of the software. So I want it to be in this orientation here. And so what the software is doing, by analyzing this image here, it realizes that it was rotated wrong, and so it's automatically rotating, and then it will frame up and it will plate solve and center on this target. Yeah, the reason I went all out with this telescope, with this focuser, is because my intention is to eventually have this telescope in a remote location. It's chroma LRGB filters, and I have the 3 nanometer HA and O3 filter. The only filter I'm missing right now is the S2 filter. Alright, should be have an exposure coming in here, so now you can see it. It should say that it's correct, so we can close this plate solving window. And you can see Andromeda Galaxy core here with I think it's 110, right? Isn't it 110? It's not 31. 110, M110 in in the corner of the frame here. So before we start doing anything else now, I need to do a calibration on my focuser, on my auto guider here. So yeah, it definitely wasn't cheap. I had to swallow a big pill there to get the chroma filters, but I had Bader filters, but they were 6.5 nanometer or 7 nanometers or something like that, and I just wasn't really able to get as much in the light pollution of my backyard here. I live in a easily Bortle 8 zone. All right, so we are going to, let's see, I didn't want to shift. I wanted to start guiding, select stars. I want to shift, not control. Yeah, my focus, I set up everything and tear down everything when I'm done in the backyard, so including removing the guide scope. And so the one thing I did not do tonight before we got started was do a calibration with PhD. So that is what is happening right now. I really wish Nina would close these little windows. You know, keep them open for 15 seconds, and then if it's an error, you know, if I get a red X circle, yes, leave it open so I know there's a problem. But if it's good, do you know, Jason, you said you use Nina, right? Do you know, is there a setting in the preferences somewhere where you can just, instead of having to manually close the little pop-ups? Or I like seeing the pop-ups, I just don't like that I have to close them. All right. Calibration is almost done. Oh, well, the declination was done. It's doing, or the RA is done. It's doing declination now. Moving back into spot here, and it should start guiding automatically once it finishes with the calibration. Well, you know, we'll look around in settings because I'm going to do some long exposures here. So we'll clear our guiding so we can kind of keep an eye on it and see how good or bad it is. And let's do a what, 30, I can probably do 45 seconds on luminance here. I'd be kind of afraid to do much more than that, just because the Andromeda Galaxy is actually setting right over the light bubble of pollution of Las Vegas right now. I'm in Henderson. I'm southwest or southeast of town, so, and I'm pointing northwest right now, which is right into the light pollution. So let's see how this first 5-second or 45-second exposure looks when it comes in here, and then I'll start digging into the settings and see if I can find out how to clear the pop-ups quickly. Like, you know, 15 seconds on the goods and leave the bads up. I don't know if there's that kind of setting, but well, and there it is. No calibration frames, of course, because we're doing a live feed here. So that's 45 seconds on the Andromeda Galaxy. Let's see what 60 looks like. All right, let's go into settings here. General settings, auto update nightly, device polling interval. All right, so we're looking in these settings right now. We're just going to go down the list here. Profile chooser on startup. No. Oh, okay. You're stuck in a hotel room somewhere. All right. Um, we have a new visitor, Pashira, Pashiri. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Tell us where you're from. See, I'm not seeing anything. Equipment. It's not. It has nothing to do with the safety monitor. Are you a Nina user? To our new guy here. Image options, sequence options. Yeah, I don't see. This is for imaging. That's DOM, autofocus we've been through. Equipment. I don't see any settings. What's under? Oh, that's just advanced settings for the camera. General settings. Yeah, I don't see anything for. I don't even know what that is. Error message pop-ups or. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to turn it off. Oh well, let's go back to our image here. So this is 60 seconds on the Andromeda Galaxy core with M110 here off to the side. So I'll show you what's really nice about the rotator and the focuser is, so let's go to something that's fairly close by, if we can find something fairly close by. This is Stellarium. Oh, the Triangulum Galaxy is right up overhead. So we'll zoom into this area here. Well, you know, the rotation is actually just about right if I was gonna image M33. I want to find something to show you how the rotator kind of just automatically does its little thing, and actually it takes the information from Stellarium. Well, let's see what's on this side of the meridian down south here. The Pleiades. All right, let's see if our framing is going to be good for the Pleiades. It's almost hard to see. All right, so this is the current position, angle position of the camera sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it to try to get more of the Pleiades in, and maybe select, let's select this star here. So that kind of starts to get a little more of the bottom two stars here in the little handle of this tiny dipper here. All right, so we rotated it, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to tell, we're going to turn the auto guider off, and we're going to tell Stellarium to send the scope to that target. And let's see if we're moving. We're not. Okay, our mount is moving now. And of course I clicked on it, so I moved the centering position. So we want to go up to, our scope has arrived on location. Maybe this star? Yeah, so we're going to frame up like that. So we'll tell the telescope to move over just a touch. There you go. Telescope has moved. So now what's going to happen is we go to framing, we tell it to take the position of Stellarium and load it into the framing software here in Nina. It's going to download a new file here of the Pleiades, and it'll also, you'll notice the rotation of the camera change. Did you see it when it clicked in there? So coordinates have been acquired from that. So now I just tell the software to PlateSoft to slew, center, and rotate. And you'll see the first image comes through here in about 5 seconds, and it's going to be finding the center position of the frame, and then it will realize that the rotation is off, and so it's going to do a rotation adjustment. And I don't know if we can see the rotator moving. I don't know if you can see it out there or not, but the rotator is moving right now. And you can see moving rotator to mechanical position, 12.03 degrees. It's not fast, but it is extremely precise. I think there's 16,000 clicks on the rotator, so 16,000 divided into 360 degrees, and that kind of tells you how fine a tuning you can get with the rotator. Really, really great for matching up images from a previous night. All I have to do is make sure that I have one FITS file from the night before. Okay, so there we go. So now our image is rotated and centered properly, and we are settling in, and we're good to go. So that's the way the rotator works. So I'm done showing off now. Well, that's the showing off of the focuser. My main goal tonight was to get the focus presets and offsets and everything correct, and I feel like I've done that. So what I want to do now is actually just find something to image, and I think we're going to have to do a meridian flip because Mike Jerry knows where I'm going. I'm going to go to the Rosette Nebula. Here she is. All right, so boy, it's so bright you can barely see. You know what? I can make an adjustment there. I thought that would. There we go. Change the light pollution setting, and that'll allow me to frame up my image a little better. I can actually see my box now. So I'm going to say we center on this star here. And do we like this rotation, or do we want to move just for the heck of it? Maybe something like that. Yes, Mike, you know the Rosette Nebula is my obsession. and I have yet to do anything other than black and white and hydrogen alpha. So we'll go to framing, and we will get the coordinates from the planetarium program. Mike, you're going to see though that the framing that you had last night on the Rosette. Okay, so Jason's asking to get more of the bottom left area. Okay, let me go back to bottom left. This area down here or down here. Is this what you're talking about? Bottom left? Tell me. I'll hold right here. I know there's like about a 20-second delay. Are you talking about this region right here? And I'll keep circling this until I hear from you. I'm here to please tonight, seeing as how I'm just fooling around, just playing around. Yeah, it is like handing me a crack pipe, Mike. Not that I would know what that is. I mean, I know what it is. Not that I'd know what it's like. If I was a crack pipe smoker, I wouldn't have the money for all these toys that I've got. So, still waiting to hear from Jason if this area here, yeah, that spot there. Okay, so let me move down here a little ways. see, I like all these black globules right in there, but let's see. Let me find a star to lock on. So you're talking about this area down here, okay? So we'll go to Nina, and we will grab the information from the... Oh, I think I see what you're talking about. It is kind of a much darker, richer area down there. So it's going to adjust the framing here in a moment. There we go. All right, so we've got more of that. So we will tell it to slew center and rotate. And if we go to the outdoor camera, we'll see the scope is doing its meridian flip. I tell you, I had a CGX before, and if anybody's familiar with the Celestron CGX, you know that there's no through-the-mount cabling or anything. The Ioptron Sim 70 has through-the-mount cabling, and so I don't have to worry about cable snags anymore. It is such a sweet thing to just not have to worry about cable snags, because all of my cables are going through the mount down to the nuke that's mounted on the tripod itself there. All right, so go back to our desktop. Let me look at that again, make sure it's still there. Yep. So we'll go to imaging now, and it's adjusted the rotator target to 160. It's moving it, so it's moving at 21.8 degrees right now. Jason, this is the Explore Scientific 152, 6-inch 152. It's a big monster. All right, so once this gets into position, we will switch to the hydrogen alpha filter, of course. All right, so focus position was just a touch off. Yeah, actually, Jason, I have the 127. I have the aluminum body 127, and after buying this 152, I was going to hang on to the 127, but now I'm kind of tempted to give it up. I don't see myself. It's really nice though. So if I'm imaging right now with a 1x flattener, so it's not a reducer, it's just a flattener. So I'm at 1216 millimeters focal length. I also have a little Stellar View SV70 that's with the reducer is 336 millimeter focal length. So that's like the widest field I have. The 127 with the 0.8 reducer is about 600 millimeters. So if I don't want to sell it because I just feel like I need that middle ground there if I ever want to image at in that roughly 600 millimeter focal length. All right, we're going to change filters to hydrogen alpha. Let's see, filter will HA, and we're going to change, make sure this says that the hydrogen alpha is active. I'm going to go to my guider, start guiding. Now that we've centered on our target, we'll come back and check guiding a little later. It was at 0.47 right there until I stopped it. All right, so we're not going to fool around with a 60-second exposure in hydrogen alpha. Oh, you know what we do need to do? We do need to autofocus. So let's do an autofocus here, and it should be enough bright stars in that region for it to focus on with a 5-second exposure. All right, we got our first focus point. It's going to move 1,200 steps now. 1,200 or 1,400? What did we decide to go with? Options, focuser, 1,400 steps. All right. We are on our way here. If you guys got any questions, throw them in the chat. I kind of get tired of talking every once in a while. Sometimes I might actually just, we're going to do some long exposures on the rosette. So probably our first exposure, once we get everything going here, is going to be 10 minutes. So what I may do during that 10-minute period is just turn the music up and walk away for a moment while we wait for that first exposure to magically appear on our screen. I'm loving that V-curve. So we're coming down to about a little less than 2.5, and our furthest point is 6.5. So that's a good between 3 and 4 times difference. So I think we're really good with the focuser. Jason, are you familiar with Patriot Astro on YouTube? Okay, so focus has been found. All right. So let's make sure we've got a good focus here. We've got 0.70 guiding. Yeah, that should be fine for tonight. Mike doesn't hear any music anymore. It may have been transitioning in between songs. There's like 8 songs I have. You see, like this is still here. So why does this need to still be here? Thank you for telling me, but go away. I did crank the music up a little bit, but I believe it was actually a transition in between a couple of songs. I have like 8 songs recorded back to back, so there will be moments of silence occasionally. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, we're going to do a 600-second exposure, and we are going to save this file. And you know what? I can't remember the guy's name. It might be Jason as well. Jason or... Oh, God. I'd be completely making it up now. Anyway... he's the one that I've been watching to learn more about Nina. Him and Quiv the Lazy Geek. Those are my 2 main sources for learning Nina. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and set up a sequence rather than... let's see, add target to simple sequence. And that way it'll dither in between exposures. Our cooling is already down. We're not gonna slew to target because we're already there. We're not gonna center the target because we're already there. Our guider is already going. I don't want to focus on start because we're already focused. Yeah, Quiv is a great guy. Never have figured out what he's doing in Japan, in Tokyo. He must work for some software company or something, because he has also done a lot of the coding for Nina. So, all right. So that's all we need to do there, and we'll do 10 exposures of 600 seconds each. Using a filter wheel hydrogen alpha. We're going to dither in between each one, and then we're going to do 10 600 exposures of O3. So it will autofocus once it gets to the filter change. He has a nuke on the scope. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and start this. PhD, it's letting PhD settle. So now it's going to go through a sequence. It's going to do 10-minute exposures of the Rosette Nebula. Latte Panda Mini PC. Latte Panda, is that like a Raspberry something, or is it running, is it an Intel? I've never heard of Latte Panda. I'll have to Google that while we sit here and wait for our first exposure to come in. We've got 9 minutes and 45 seconds to go. I have a visitor that wants to say hello, so while we wait, let me take my glasses off because he has been known to break my glasses. Come on, there you go. So, oh, say hello to everybody. Look, right there. Do you see yourself on TV? Oh Lord, oh Lord. That's Titan. Titan. He's my big moose. He's actually a full-blooded black lab. His brother is a lab mix, and his name is Sagan. So Titan, Saturn's moon, Sagan, Carl Sagan. Can you tell I'm an astronomy geek? All right, so let's go back to our desktop. Okay, you need to settle down, mister. You're going to knock stuff over with that big tail. Why don't you go get on the couch? Go on there on the couch and watch me. All right. Go lay down, boy. Go lay down, please. Thank you. Go lay down. You're not jumping up in my lap anymore. So latte, okay, well, you know what? Let's see. Let me go outdoors for a second just so I can minimize my screen here. I'm going to open up. Oh, I'm going to open up a browser window. If you guys do any like astrophotography like this, where you're working from inside and your scope is outside, I know Mike does, obviously. I would highly recommend the Wyze Cam V3. That's the camera that you're looking at right now. It actually, well, I mean, granted, I have a lot more artificial light than Mike does where he's located. I've got neighbors' lights on, and I've got street lights behind the park there and everything. But it does an amazing job in color. I mean, to me, it's the best camera. And the really great thing about this camera, you know, they should be like paying me for this advertisement, is that, first of all, it's cheap. I think they're like $35, $38. It's the cheapest item in my whole hobby. But the other thing that's really nice about it is it's the cheapest camera that I could find that has really good picture quality, that also allows you to turn on or off the IR sensor. It's off right now because IR sensors can mess with your imaging, and so that's what allows you to see it in color. When the IR sensors are turned on, it's a black and white image. It's a little bit sharper when the IR sensors are on, but again, you don't want that whenever you're imaging. So we're still about 7 minutes away, and I am going to, on my other window here, Google Latte Panda computer. Let's see what comes up here. Latte Panda Mini PC, maybe. Oh, okay, I see it. Well, no, I see other mini PCs popping up, but I don't see anything. Well, here we go. LattePanda.com. Oh, this was a Kickstarter project, huh? Interesting. It looks like it's just a shell. What am I seeing here? Pocket-sized hackable computer. Huh, interesting. Does it have a housing, or is it just like the little mini motherboard with all the ports soldered to it? That's what I'm seeing here. They do sell a case for it. Okay, I see a case now. Interesting. Well, that's something to consider for future. It looks light, but you know, light is really not an issue for me any longer because my nuke is actually mounted on the column of the tri-pier there on the opposite side from where we can see right now. Oh, my neighbors were just kind enough to turn their prison searchlights on. But yeah, you can kind of see on the left side of the column there the Intel nuke that's mounted there, and the cables go into the base of the mount. Well, if you have the Sim60, you know how that is, and then it comes out up on the deck axis and go to the camera and the guide scope. So yeah, no cables dangling. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, back to our desktop. We're just past the halfway point. Let me actually go to... Oh, I can show you my setup. I have a little setup video. Hey, I went all out for you guys today. So here's a little video of me setting up in the backyard. You'll see Sagan, my yellow lab. Sagan's got a bandage on his right front foot because he partially ripped his dew claw off, and you'll see Titan getting in my way, of course. Rodrigo's back. Hey, welcome from the other night. So here's the little setup video that shows me setting everything up in the yard earlier this evening. Sagan's got to come in and get in the way. Now he'll get out of the way. He'll come back in and he'll get in the way again after I reposition the camera. So this whole setup, it takes me about, well, not counting getting all the cases out into the yard. So once all the cases are in the yard, from the time this video started until you see the end, it takes me about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So I went in, I forgot one case, of course. Titan's got to get some love in there, and then he'll get out of the way. And then Sagan's going to come over and block the camera here while I actually put the camera on the back end of the scope. Yes, we are doing the Rosette Nebula tonight, Rodrigo. So we have an exposure coming in about 2.5 minutes. There's Sagan, always in the way. Do a little balancing, and then I realized I forgot to connect the camera. There's the good deck balance, and here's the RA balance, and we are good to go. All right, that's that. So we are about a minute 45 seconds away from our first 10-minute exposure on the Rosette, specially framed up for Jason. I think our music has dipped out. I think it's in between tracks now. It should be looping. Let me go back to the outdoor camera just for a moment. Make sure our music is not looping. Okay. Okay, now it is. Okay, music is restarted and should be coming in here in a moment. And we're about 45 seconds away from our first 10-minute exposure on the Rosette. Rodrigo, how are you doing tonight? You have any target you'd like to see tonight? We're not tracking any asteroids or anything tonight, so if you have something in particular, if it's visible above my horizon, here comes our first 10-minute exposure, guys. Downloading now, and it should pop right up here. There we go. Oh, I see why you wanted all this darkness in there. Yeah, that is very nice. That is very nice. This is the stuff I usually kind of frame up and make sure that I get that in the shot. What have we got there up at the top? Oh, that's the star annotation. I thought we had something yellow like a UFO or something flying through the shot there, but it's just the star annotation. I thought that was turned off. There we go. Yeah, Jason, I actually have, you know what? Let me see. Can I show you that screen? I bought, it's going off the screen here. I bought this guy's album. I was about to say CD, but technically it's an album. It's about an hour and 12 minutes of music that you're listening to right now, and you can find them online at thebluemask.com. And yeah, it's kind of really deep space ambient. I mean, you see what it says there, but yeah, as long as you pay for it, I think it was under $50, and I like helping artists like this out. So so here's our image, and yeah, that's pretty sweet. I like this little darkness over here. So we are off onto our next exposure. The sequence, it is dithering every frame, so you can kind of see where it's at now on the elevation graph. This is as accurate as I could get. This is what's visible and not visible to me because of my house and my neighbor's house and the trees and stuff like that. So also a Patriot Astro YouTube video that showed me how to set that up, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you gotta love those chroma filters till you have to pay for them. That's why I haven't bought the S2 filter yet. Most of the stuff that I do is RGB HA, and then I do some bicolor narrowband stuff, HA03. I think I've only, when I had my beta filters, I only imaged maybe 2 or 3 targets with the S2 filter, so I've just kind of held off on spending that $750. I'm kind of hoping for a price dump. It's either going to go up and I'm going to be a loser, or it'll go down and I'll save a few bucks. So I might even buy one secondhand if I can find a 36mm unmounted 3 nanometer S2 filter. That would be awesome. I haven't looked at the forums or anything like that. I do solar. Yeah, I actually have a little Lunt 80mm hydrogen alpha scope that I do some solar stuff with. It's pretty cool. I have not done solar. We're just now coming out of the minimum. We're just now coming out of the solar minimum, so I guess I need to dust off the little Lunt 80mm. I use my old 1600 monochrome camera to do hydrogen alpha imaging now that I bought the 2600. Let's see, NGC 2261. Let's go see what that is. NGC 2261. Oh, it's not very far away from where we're at. Look at that. It's right in the same neighborhood. Oh, Hubble's Variable Nebula. Yeah, I've heard of that. I don't know that I've got the focal length for that. I mean, look how tiny that is in my frame. I've done the Christmas Tree Nebula over here. I've done that region before, but I don't know. Is Hubble's variable nebula tells me that it was probably named by Hubble, maybe, or that it's a reflection nebula, at least. I don't know anything about it, so that means it would have to be in luminance tonight, or if I bothered to do RGB. Sounds like I hear my camera doing a meridian flip, but that can't be. Yeah, you have to find something that's a little more exciting than that for me to get off of my addiction to the Rosette Nebula here. I can show you. Yeah, it is a reflection nebula. Okay, so yeah. Let's see, can I minimize this? Yeah, I'll just minimize everything. Here's my desktop picture. So this is 5 hours and 20 minutes worth of subs, worth of 10-minute subs on the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula, and I did this from my backyard as well, Jason. You probably haven't seen that one yet. So, all right, where are we at with our second exposure here? We're 4 minutes away from our second exposure. Well, I tell you, let me go to AstroBin and search for it. That's what I usually do when I figure out if it's to figure out if something is a reflection nebula or an emission nebula. So NGC 2261. Search for it on AstroBin. And see if anybody's imaged it in anything other than RGB. Let's see. This guy doesn't say. Oh, I'm going to bring this over so you guys can see what I'm seeing. So these are different people that have imaged it. Let's see what this is. See if it says what. Yeah, LRGB filters. Yeah, it's definitely not a narrowband target. I don't think we're going to find anybody that's imaged it in narrowband. This guy doesn't say. You know, if you're going to use AstroBin, I'm sorry, put the information in. Explain yourself. Or otherwise just post on Facebook or do whatever else you do. Yeah, this guy doesn't say either what, you know, I can show you my channel. I mean, I don't have a lot of pictures here, but how do I get to my page? I don't know how to get to my page. Oh, maybe that's all I have to do. Yeah, see, I always fill out all the information that I can, what filters were used, exposure times, anything that you can possibly think of to well, just as soon as I say that, I did not put in the I didn't put in the description how many exposures that was. So here's some more of my work here. Why is it not showing up? I know I filled it. Oh, here it is down here. Yeah, so you can see, you know, I always list all the information on my pictures. This is a nice shot. I'm pretty happy with this one. Let's go full screen with it, or full resolution. That's M82. And where is M81? Oh, I think I uploaded the wrong version here. Yeah, my stars are really messed up in this picture. That's what happens when you look at full resolution images. You see all the nastiness. Doesn't look bad there. Let's see. Here's something I did one night in the backyard when I was just fooling around. This is a very tight shot of the a portion of the North American Nebula. This is the Mexico portion of the North American Nebula turned on its side. I did not have my little 70 up that night. My Helix Nebula. That one turned out all right. Yes, Antoine and I are friends. We have a little clique of about 4 or 5 guys here in town that we get together occasionally and go during the new moon, and we go out. Antoine's a good guy. Yeah, it's funny between Antoine and the 3 other guys that I go to dark sky sites with. Antoine's wife is the only one that has any interest in the hobby. She helps him with his videos and stuff. My wife has no interest in it. She thinks I'm crazy doing this, setting up in the dark all night and freezing my tail off sometimes and sweating like crazy in the summertime. We have found a couple of good locations. I live in Henderson, which is a suburb of Vegas, and I have found locations that are within an hour south of Vegas, an hour north of Vegas, an hour east of Vegas, and an hour west of Vegas. So depending on what I'm going to image, I head in whatever direction I need to and can get some pretty decent dark sky sites. I can do 4-minute broadband exposures from some of these locations, but I am shooting at f8. So hey guys, I am going to, since we're just sort of on autopilot here, I'm going to take a bathroom break. I'm going to mute my microphone and I'm going to crank the music up for you guys and step away for probably about 2 minutes, and I shall return. If you have any questions while I'm gone, just leave them in the comments. That'll be the first thing I look at when I get back. miss anything? Other than my fancy little subscribe button. So, oh, speaking of subscribe buttons, Mike, are you still there? I wanted to explain to you what I understand about the difference between the subscribe button and the bell notification button in YouTube, and I hope it makes sense. I didn't want to try to write it out because it was too long an explanation, and I won't go into it here unless Mike is here, because Mike was the one that was asking about it last night. So I know there's like about a 20-second delay between when I ask something and when you guys hear. Oh, so you are there. Okay. So, if you remember when I first joined you last night, I joined you on my personal channel. And when I started that channel, it was before I really had anything that I was planning on. I had a channel mainly for like just personal items, family, the dogs, stuff like that. And I'm also a beekeeper, and I'm also an astrophotographer, and so I started having so many people that I had subscribed to in my channel, like literally hundreds of people from all these different hobbies and interests that I had. And that's about the time that YouTube started the bell notification thing, because it used to, in the old days, when you subscribed to someone, if you had your settings set up, you either had notifications turned on and turned off. And so if you had notifications turned on, then every time somebody posted a new video or whatever, you'd get an email. Well, my email box would fill up. So what they did was they found out that people were less likely to subscribe to people because they didn't want to get an email every time somebody uploaded a video or went live or anything like that. So that's when they separated the subscribe button from the notification button. So when you subscribe to somebody, what it does is it just puts them up at the top of the feed. So when you open up YouTube, anybody that you subscribe to, their videos show up if you just open up YouTube at any random time. But when you have the notification checked, the bell notification checked, again, you have to go into your settings and set it, but that's where you can get, for like, let's say you're following like 500 people, but you only want to get notifications from 10 of them. So you hit the bell for those 10 people, and you'll get an email when those 10 people actually post a video. So that kind of is a nuts and bolts of the difference between the subscribe button and the notification button. I hope that makes sense. We're about 3 seconds away from another 10-minute exposure coming in. And guess what? It's going to look exactly like the one that's on screen now, except it's going to dither just a little bit. Yeah, it shifted just a tiny bit. So Sagan is here now, my other dog, the one that's got kind of the hurt foot right now. So let me see if he'll say hello to the group. Get him in position here. Come here. All right. Hold on. He doesn't jump up on me like the other dog does, so I gotta actually. Oh, I gotta pick him up. And of course, his jealous brother's got to come in here and get in his face. So this is Sagan, named after Carl Sagan, of course. And the other day we were going for a walk, and I had put the leash on him. And usually when I put the leash on him, I lay the leash down on the floor while I put the leash on the other guy here. And I was standing on the leash, and he took off, this guy took off for the door, and the leash caught his dew claw and ripped it halfway off, almost 3/4 of the way off. So we had blood spurting all over the place, and it was a big, ugly mess in here. So he had a little trip to the vet, and that's why he's got, I don't know, it's so dark in here. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see. He's got the black sock that's covering up his bandage and everything now. All right, ready to get down? Easy does it with that bad leg. There you go. All right, mister. I messed up your bandage. Now your brother's going to get jealous. Okay. All right. Yes, Sagan is my buddy. Sagan is the one. He actually sleeps with me every night. He wedges himself in between myself and my wife, and Titan actually has his own bed. He had got his own queen size bed at the foot of our king size bed. They're supposed to both sleep on the queen size bed, but it doesn't work out that way. Titan is perfectly content with the queen size bed all to himself, and he stretches out and makes the most of it. Sagan just lays with us. All right, boy. Why don't you guys go lay down? Okay, so Mike, like I was trying to explain last night, so you have to go into your YouTube settings, go to YouTube settings, and then go to notifications, and you have to, because by default, the basic setting is that you'll get the little pop-up when you're in YouTube, which obviously you don't want. So you do get other notifications. Just for some reason, I don't seem to get notifications of others' broadcasts. Huh. I wonder if live videos are different than like uploaded videos. I don't know why it would be. Let's see. I've got a browser window open. Let me do a little exploring here. But you do have to turn in the YouTube settings. So let's see. Scroll all the way down to settings, and then go to notifications, email notifications, I'm looking. Oh yeah, right there at the top, preferences, it says subscriptions. So it says notify me about activity from the channels I'm subscribed to. But that's only after you've rung the bell, though. Let's see if there's something under advanced settings. Nothing under advanced settings. Notify me of videos I might like based on what I watch. That's unchecked. Activity on my channel. Notify me about comments and other activity on my channel or videos. Yeah, I don't see anything. Let me go to your page and see what settings I have, because I got a notification that you were live. I just got it like an hour late because I didn't have my phone handy. So let me find you. So that's not you. That's a different Mike Jerry. Is your channel name something different besides your name? It could be like mine. Oh, no, there we go. Mike Jerry. All right, so what do I have set for you? I have personalized set. Because when you click on the bell, you have three options: all, personalized, or none. So I have it set to all. So that means I would think that having all set So you have recommended videos also turned off, but all others are on. Okay, okay. So we're on the same game. Same here. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Rodrigo. So it says with the bell, YouTube sends a notification if you are streaming. And if you have your notifications set up to email you, it should email you, right? Notifications. So yeah, sounds like Rodrigo may know a little bit about this too. So what we're trying to do is not get a notification in YouTube, because we may not have YouTube open, but we always like have our phone set to where we get a little ding or something whenever we get an email. So we want YouTube to send us an email with a notification. And now I'm not even seeing how to do that. Select push and email notifications you would like to receive. Email notification. Well, I am looking and I don't see how to tell it to send me an email notification. So you get email notifications about your own streams, but not others. Well, that would have something to do under the general, under notifications, general your preferences, activity on my channel, notifying me about comments and other activity on my channel or videos. Yeah, but I know what you want. You want to get an email, like as soon as I go live, you want to get an email saying, hey, Greg's live. I understand what you're asking for, and I'm not seeing, I thought it was, I don't know what I've got set that's different, because I have an email, I got an email last night saying, like I said, saying that you were live, but I just didn't check my email for a couple of hours. Well, it's a mystery. Something I'll have to do a little research on. So we're coming up on about roughly 20 seconds away from another exposure. We can go back and look at our sequence here and see that we've taken so far 3 out of 10 exposures. I may change this. Let's just do 5 hydrogen alpha, and we'll do 5 O3. All right, Jason, have a good night, man. Take care. Clear skies. Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to do a little research on, Jerry, because I'm not finding any specific setting there either. Seems like I remember at one point in time there being a bell, like when did you set your stream up? Maybe last night before I changed my settings. No, I didn't set the stream up until today. I sent I did an Instagram post at midnight last night saying that I was going to go live tonight, but I didn't actually change any do the settings until probably noon today. Let's see. I'm just going to do some searching here. YouTube bell notifications. Oh, one of the top things that came up was YouTube bell notifications not working. Let's see what that's all about. If you're subscribed to a channel but aren't receiving notifications, it may be because the channel's notification settings are off. To turn all notifications on, go to the channel for which you'd like to receive all notifications. Click the bell next to the subscribe button to get all notifications. Well, we've done that. Here's another Google support post. Let's see. I'm subscribed to the channel but not receiving notifications. I'm receiving some but not all notifications. I used to All right, so here, I'm going to let you read this. So this is what I found. So it says, check your account notification settings, go to the account icon, click settings, under account settings, click notifications, under channel subscriptions. Let me do this. I'm going to open up another window over here and follow along here. So I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to, under account settings, click notifications. Select whether you would like the notification to come in as a push, email, or both. Push notifications show on your mobile screen. Email notifications are notifications that are emailed you. Okay. So select whether you would like notifications, email notifications. Manage your mobile and desktop notifications. Email notifications. All right, guys, I got to take a break here for a second. I'm going to go back to the desktop. My dog has pulled the bandage off of his leg, so I've got to take care of that. I will be back in a moment. All right, I'm back. I think when I picked my dog up a few minutes ago, I must have pulled the bandage enough to where it came off, so. All right, so we are 1 minute away from our last hydrogen alpha shot, and then we're going to switch over to O3. I have never imaged O3 or never done a 10-minute exposure in O3 from the backyard. Thank you, Rodrigo. Yeah, it does have some beautiful detail in it, doesn't it? Look at these little black globules here. It's crazy stuff in there. Really surprised we haven't picked up a single satellite tonight. Okay, so our last 10-minute HA exposure just came in, as we see here. So it's switching filters. You see it's switching filters, and it's going to do an autofocus routine now that it's switching filters to the O3 filter. This is another thing I wish I could figure out in Nina, is how to get it to, I want it to always open up this autofocus screen this big. It just always comes in as that little bitty box. Well, if I was to answer your question, Rodrigo, about the number of subs, if I was doing this for any like real purpose, like I'm just playing around live streaming tonight. I'm gonna save these files, but I'm probably not even gonna do anything with them because I'm not gonna bother taking flats and dark flats tonight. But if I was doing this where I wanted to actually make something out of it, I like to do at least 20 exposures, no matter how long they are, whether they're 1-minute exposures or 10-minute exposures. I like to have at least 20. So yeah, so when you're doing 10-minute exposures, you're talking about 200 minutes of one filter. I don't know that there's a magic number. I mean, if you're doing 1-minute exposures, it's easy to do 20. You know, you're looking at 20 minutes. Maybe a little longer if you're dithering in between exposures. What do you do? Are you shooting with a monochrome camera or a color camera? That's a beautiful V-curve. right, so we're off on our first 10-minute oxygen 3 exposure right now. I can tell you, Rodrigo, that let me go back to my desktop and show it to you here. Minimize this. So this exposure here that you're looking at, this is the Horsehead Nebula that I took from the backyard. This is 5 hours and 20 minutes worth of 10-minute subs. And I can tell you there's a big difference between 3 hours of subs and 5 hours and 20 minutes. I could see so much more detail in here. Not so much more detail, but the image was just so much cleaner. There's so much less noise, and that's just the process of stacking multiple images like that gives you that cleaner image like that. I'm going to switch to the outdoor camera. I'm going to see if I can find the 3-hour exposure, and I don't know if it'll show up on the YouTube compression here, but all right, so I found the 5 hour and 20-minute exposure. Oh, you're shooting with a DSLR. Okay, all right. What type of scope are you just shooting with a camera lens? Let's see, where is the 3 hours and 30 minutes? So, let's see. Let me go back to my desktop. Now, of course, some of this has to do with, processing was done a little differently too. So this one here that you're looking at is 3 hours and 30 minutes. You can see in the title, in the name of the file here, 3 hours and 30 minutes versus 5 hours and 20 minutes. If you just look. Okay, a C8 with a focal reducer. Okay, so C8 starts out at 2,000 millimeters, so you're probably shooting at about 1,400 millimeters. Woo, that's long. Are you on a wedge or are you on an equatorial mount? So anyway, you can see how much more detail shows up, especially not so much in the horse's head, although the horse's head is a little darker, but if you just look at the wispiness up here above the horse's head, if you look at especially the area below the horse's head down in here, there's just so much more detail in 5.5 or 5 hours and 20 minutes. So you tell me, is more is better? To a certain point, I think. Now, in fairness, too, this 3 hour and 30 minute picture I did, this was from one night's capture. I captured 3 hours and 30 minutes worth of data, and I stacked all 3 hours and 30 minutes. And if we zoom in, you notice that my stars aren't perfectly round here. You see that? See how they're a little oblong? Especially noticeable like in this little guy right here, how oblong it is. So my buddies convinced me to be a lot more selective on keeping good frames. So I went through and I analyzed every frame, every sub, and I only kept the ones that were good round stars. I had some guiding issues that night. Okay, equatorial, yeah, so f6.3, yeah, 1630. Yep, That's so you're at 1600 millimeter focal length. I'm at 1200 millimeter. But you're shooting a little bit faster though at 6.3. I'm shooting at f8. Getting back to my picture though, you can see the stars are a lot better here than they are in this three hour, because I took the best of this night and I combined it with the best of the second night to get the 5 hour exposure here. So that's that. I think you told me the other night, Rodrigo, where are you, or what state or country are you in? Because you probably, I think you have, well, I can't remember. I was talking to so many people the night of the asteroid pass. I was talking to people in Bolivia and Argentina and Dominican Republic. I can't remember if you're one of the United States guests that we had here, or if you're one of the people from outside the country. And then I'll talk to you after I get a response from you. We'll talk about your flats, the problems that you might be having. We're 3 minutes away from our first oxygen 3 image coming in here on the Rosette nebula. I'm not sure if Mike is still with us. Mike probably left. He knows I'll spend all night on the Rosette. Mexico. Okay, so you're in Monterey City. Okay. So, let's see. Monterey City, Mexico.
Here is some information about Monterrey. Monterrey, capital of the northeastern Mexican state of Nuevo León, is a sprawling business.
I want to find your latitude. I can probably just ask you and you would tell me, but let's see where you're at. Monterey, where is Monterey at? Okay, so you're probably at about 22, 23 degrees, I'm guessing, just looking at where Monterey is on the map. 22, 23 degrees latitude. You can get a lot more of the southern sky stuff than we can here, that's for sure. Roughly 25 degrees. Okay. We're about 40 seconds away. 40 seconds away from our first oxygen 3 on the Rosette. Oh boy, getting down to 20 degrees latitude. Oh, look, here's our first oxygen 3 sub coming in here. There's a good bit of oxygen 3 data in that target. One of these days, I'm going to actually spend some time on this and shoot probably 3 hours one night of hydrogen alpha, and then the following night shoot 3 hours of oxygen 3 and make a bicolor image of this target. There's a lot more O3 data there than I realized there was. Okay, let's see. I'm going to find, it's not visible this time of year. But I'm going to call up a target. I'm curious if you've shot it, because being down in between 20 and 25 degrees, I've shot it from here. We're at 36 degrees latitude, and actually I think I was closer to 35 degrees where I shot this target from, but it was only 6 degrees or 8 degrees above the horizon. So definitely not a good target, or not a good object for me to be trying to shoot here. Omega Centauri, that's the one I was trying to think of. It's a huge globular cluster. Omega Centauri, that would be a fantastic target for your DSLR at 1600 millimeters. Also Centaurus A. So you're looking at NGC 5139, NGC 5139, and NGC 5128. So they're in the constellation Centaurus, so not visible this time of year, but when they are visible in the spring, definitely a target you should go after if you haven't already. Centaurus A is a huge galaxy. It's called the Hamburger Galaxy because it looks like you're looking at a hamburger from the edge, from the side view. And Omega Centauri is the largest globular cluster in the night sky in either hemisphere. So we can barely get a glimpse of it here. Yeah, I'm really surprised how much oxygen is in this target. If I was gonna be up all night, which I'm not because I have a doctor's appointment in the morning, but if I was gonna be up all night, I would probably go ahead and start shooting the hydrogen alpha for a long-term project like this. If you want to begin with galaxies, then go for Centaurus A. It's NGC 5128. It's an incredible target. Actually, this is kind of like my lame attempt from latitude 36 degrees. Again, this thing was only about 6 or 8 degrees above the horizon when I took this picture, so not the greatest picture. This was taken with my old 1600 and my old 127 millimeter scope, and then that's Omega Centauri, the globular cluster. It's huge. It's just gigantic. Here's some of my other stuff. This is probably my best Jupiter. A little composite picture of a solar eclipse. That's probably my best Saturn, and you can see how small it is. That's full screen. Got lucky shooting the sun one day and captured an airplane passing through. M33. Here's a little elephant trunk nebula. I did a little bicolor work on that. That's hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3. Oh well. Yeah, of course you've got the Andromeda Galaxy and M33, the Triangulum Galaxy that you could image. those are all great. The Sombrero Galaxy would be high in the sky for you. That one's kind of low for us. Trying to think what other galaxies. Sombrero is going to be small. Well, I mean, not at your focal length. At 1600 millimeter with a DSLR, you should get a decent size image of the Sombrero. That would be the smallest of all of them, though. Andromeda is going to be the biggest, of course, followed by Triangulum. So you were saying earlier you were having trouble with your flats. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to get Centaurus until probably May. Might even be June before it's high enough in the sky to image. And, well, I guess unless you get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and catch it when it's rising. So what trouble were you having with your flats? Tell me if you can briefly. Oh yes, the Sculptor Galaxy. I forgot about the Sculptor Galaxy. I shot that this last year. I think they call it the Silver Coin Galaxy as well. I did shoot that one. That is a really big galaxy. That's going to be bigger than the Sombrero for sure. I think it's the Sculptor Galaxy is bigger than, or is about the same size as Triangulum, but I think it's brighter than the Triangulum. Triangulum being more face on to us is kind of diffuse. It's kind of spread out. Yep, NGC 253. I remember that number from when I imaged it. Alright, so we are on our way. We're 4 out of 5, or 1 out of 5 exposures of hydrogen alpha. I'm just playing around here. Not exactly sure what you're trying to say there, Cordarius. I don't know if that's some sort of code or what. Somebody else said something very similar to that earlier today, and I don't understand what it means. I'm looking back earlier to see if it's the same thing. Oh, it's a good old spam bot. That's what it is. Okay. Well, I'm glad I bothered to look so I know what to do with it. Remove it. And I shall remove the other one from earlier this evening too. So you make your flats with a shirt and the skylights in the afternoon. Okay, but every time I stack all the deep sky stacker, I got all in deep sky stacker, I got vignetting. Okay, so one of the things you have to be careful about when you do your flats is you have to make sure that nothing changes between, because you mentioned that you're doing in the afternoon, so you want to make sure that you don't take the camera off and put the camera back on. The camera and the telescope stay in the exact same optical configuration, so you don't want to be doing anything like that. Yeah, Mike, it was weird. I just Googled it and it popped up something about a spam bot, so I just went ahead and deleted it. So about your flats, make sure that nothing is changing in your optical train, and then when you are looking at your histogram, you want your histogram to be a sharp peak, and you want it to be as close to the middle of the histogram screen as possible. If you can't get it perfectly in the middle, it's better to be a little to the left instead of a little to the right. That a little to the left would be slightly underexposed on the histogram, and that'll give you a good proper flat. But yeah, t-shirt method and daylight is fine as long as you can get the exposure right and get the histogram where it needs to be. I actually use an LED flat panel that's actually, it's made specifically for this, but I used to use sky flats as well with the t-shirt, and I was successful with them. So it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. So Mike, I don't know if you've been here all along, but this is actually oxygen 3, 10 minutes of oxygen 3 on, of course, the rosette, because I'm a rosette guy. I don't know if you just joined us, but I shot 5 10-minute exposures in hydrogen alpha and then switched over to O3. Going to shoot a couple in O3, and then I don't know. I'm just extremely happy that I got my focus routine nailed down at the beginning of the evening. That was the one thing that I wanted to make sure that I got done before I leave for the evening. That got done a lot faster than I thought it would. Got to show off the rotator as well. You want to give me a target there, Mike? Yeah, if you're going to get a light panel, the thing I would suggest, Rodrigo, about the light panel is make sure you get one. You've got an 8-inch scope, so you want to get a light panel that's at least 10 inches in diameter. Even bigger would be better, and the reason is because the way the LEDs are laid out, they're actually in a circle around the outer perimeter of the light panel, and so you don't want an 8-inch panel for an 8-inch scope. You want something 10 inches or larger. A 12-inch panel would be ideal if you can find a 12-inch light panel. That would give you really good, even illumination across the entire field. Oh, let's see, guys. We are a little more than a minute away from our next exposure coming in here, and we're getting close to the meridian there as well. I could go down and shoot a 10-minute exposure on the Seagull Nebula's head, or the center of his body here. I think this is his wings here, and this is the seagull's body, I believe. I don't know. I have such a hard time with imagination on some of these objects sometimes. Let Let me turn my light pollution down and bring that image up a little brighter. That might be kind of a cool target to see what that looks like. Let's see what kind of framing I want to go for, something like this. Oh yeah, they make a bunch of different sizes of light panels, anywhere from 5 to 15 inches. I actually saw an 18-inch panel one time. You can, if you have access to Amazon, look at LED tracing pads or tracing panels. They're a lot cheaper than a specific custom made, and I had one that I used for years and years and years. The only reason I got rid of it was because when I bought this new telescope, it was too small for this new telescope. Would a powerful LED lamp in the shirt work? The trick, you don't want to shine the lamp directly into the scope, because you have to have perfectly even illumination across the entire 8 inches of your aperture. So what you want to do is, you could set up a piece of white paper or something on a wall and point the telescope in the center of that piece of white paper, and then maybe light it from both sides evenly, as long as you can get a really good even light source on it. But you don't want to shine the LED directly into the shirt. You'll get hot spots. You'll know you got good even illumination if your histogram looks like it has a very sharp peak. You know, it just goes up and then down. If it's got any kind of like up and then comes down and then moves over a little bit and comes down, then that means your illumination is not evenly lit there. So yeah, that's true. All the tracing panels don't provide perfectly even illumination. I guess I just got lucky with the one. I don't remember the brand name now, but it was recommended on cloudy nights, and so I went with it at the time. And for my 5-inch, it worked great, because it was about, I want to say 8 by 6 or something, and so it actually worked out pretty good. Just didn't quite give me even illumination on the 6-inch scope though, and that's why I went with the Spike A flat panel. But even with daylight flats and t-shirt method, if you can get the histogram right, you can get good flats using daylight flats. Alright, we're 2 minutes away, and I think we're going to call it quits after this. We're going to go to the Seagull, because I'm getting a little tired, so we're going to just let it finish this exposure here, and then we will go to the Seagull for one 10-minute exposure. In fact, I can go ahead set that up right now, I believe. Hopefully it doesn't, even if it does mess up this exposure, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you absolutely have to leave the camera in the focus position and everything in the same, all right, in the same spot. Alright, so I got that in just in time. I just have it set to do 2 exposures for now. Oh yeah, Mike, you can tell Rodrigo about the Illumiglow. That'll save him a lot of money if he can get it. He's in Mexico, so uh, yeah, Illumiglow. That sounds like a really good thing. He's got the 10-inch. So look at what Mike's talking about there in the comments. All right, how far away are we? We're coming up on the last exposure here. 10 minutes loading right now. Okay, so now it is going to hop over to our other target. We'll watch this whole process. It should, if I remember to check all the check boxes. Telescope is moving. It's moving to the seagull. It's going to adjust the rotator now. Remember, since you've got a C8, you don't want to get an 8-inch panel. You want to get one that's a couple of inches bigger. The bigger the better in reality, I think, because like if you could afford a 12-inch panel, I would get the 12 inches instead of the 10-inch if they're even numbers. So guiding is going to start now, and we're going to do a 10-minute exposure in hydrogen alpha. Let's see, after guiding settles in, it should do an autofocus because it should change filters. Yeah, you need your light source as even and flat across the entire panel as possible. Otherwise, you're just going to be fighting yourself getting accurate flats. .57 before we started jumping around to a different location here tonight. All right, so we're off on our first 10-minute exposure. You know, the color doesn't matter as much as the evenness of the light. If it's got a bluish tint to it, you know, like I said, the color doesn't matter. I've actually used a gray t-shirt before doing daylight flats, and as long as it is even, that's the most important thing. The color doesn't matter nearly as much, because your software DSS, when you process, is not really going to be looking at the color. It's going to be looking at the illumination from corner to corner across the field. That's what it's looking at, not the color. I actually have a friend who used a red t-shirt once for flats, and it worked out fine. He just had to adjust his light to be a little brighter going through a red t-shirt instead of white. Okay, Mike, this is a new target. Can you believe it? I have left the Rosette Nebula. In fact, this is the very first time I might fall in love with a new target here. This is the very first time that I've ever imaged the Seagull Nebula. We'll see how 10 minutes does on this. So, you know, I'm just thinking out loud here, Mike, and I don't know that I would ever risk trying this, but with the rotator as precise as it is, I'm almost wondering, like if I were to shoot two objects one night, and let's say one at 0 degrees rotation and one at 12.56 degrees rotation, do you think I could go back at the end of the night and the rotator would be precise enough to where I could shoot my flats at 0 degrees and also shoot flats at 12.06 or whatever the second one is? I wonder if the rotator has that much precision. I mean, we're talking about dust bunnies mainly. I don't know that I would risk it. I think I would do flats in between targets. So I have the sequence set up to do two 10-minute exposures on here, guys, and I think at the end of this the second 10-minute exposure, I'm probably going to call it quits. I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning, and I've still got all this gear to pack up. I may come out and play again tomorrow night, though, so we'll see. Mike, this is definitely one time. I'm assuming you leave your rig set up and you just have some sort of cover for it, either a scope stuff type cover or a hard cover or something that you put over it, and you are able to just leave it set up all night and never have to worry about polar alignment or anything. I've got to do that every night. Show you what I go through. This is what I go through every time I have to, every time I want to image. If it was this fast, it wouldn't be that big a hassle. But this is about 20-25 minutes worth of work sped up into about 30 seconds. Yeah, I may have to just experiment one night, Jerry. I mean, you know, that's what most of these nights in the backyard are for anyway, just doing experimentation. Other than a hydrogen alpha. I don't usually even shoot my O3 in the backyard. I go to dark sites for my O3. So, although looking at that 10 minutes of O3 on the rosette, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. Yeah, it must be nice, your little cinder block pier there. Oh, you do take the mount and the scope down every night. Okay. See, I would have thought you'd have left it set up and just put some sort of cover over it. You could get one of those little Home Depot shed type things. I mean, I don't know how secure your neighborhood is or your home there or whatever, you know, but you could get one of those little Home Depot tough sheds or whatever, and open the door and build a little track or whatever and roll it over the top of the scope and close it up and clamp it down. Of course, summertime, it's going to be brutal hot out there, so you probably wouldn't want to do that. All you have to do is set the mount on the wedge, scope on the mount, and StarSense does the auto align. That's nice. Alright, so we're about coming up on 3 minutes away from our first hydrogen alpha exposure on... You know what? I didn't see it doing autofocus. Did I forget to tell it to autofocus? I should have checked autofocus on start. Oh well. So the focus is going to be from the previous image of in 03. It should be close enough for me to get an idea whether I want to fall in love with another target here. Yeah, electronics on the scope, that would be brutal. Yeah, that's why I've kind of never bothered to. I've got a little corner of my yard. If I cut one of these trees down that I don't like anyway, I could build a little roll-off shed out there, but I'm just so afraid of the summer heat. You know, we hit 120 last summer, or 119, I think. I could always take it down during that brief period where we have these really horrible heat waves, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of building a roll-off shed. I have just barely enough room. I actually did all the measurements and everything. It's funny, I did all the measurements and figured out exactly where it could go and how the roll-off roof would work and everything, and was thinking about it, was doing a little research online, and then in the time period, within a couple of days or so, my neighbor mounted these two like prison searchlights out in their yard, and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to deal with that. I know it wouldn't. Oh good, Rodrigo, he's going to give you the link. Minute 50 away from our first hydrogen alpha on the Seagull Nebula. Not seeing a link, Mike, unless it's coming. My guiding band. Ooh, horrible. That's disgusting. Let's not even look at that. Here we go, guys. 10 minutes on the Seagull Nebula. Downloading. Ah, there we go. All right, so I can see doing a mosaic on this target. For sure. So is this the seagull here, or is this the seagull's head, and these 2 points coming out here are the wings of the seagull? Because now I'm seeing sort of a body here and a wing coming out this way and this way. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe the seagull is not this little bitty tiny bit right here. No, Mike, we're not seeing a link. I wonder if it doesn't allow links in the chat. I'm curious, the other night, did you see a link that I posted in your feed to my website with a photograph? So it just says, here's the link for the 10-inch, and then colon, which I'm assuming is the space you put in before the link. But it's not showing up. Maybe you could write it out and just put some, it's probably some really weird long address though. So I think he's found the website, maybe just not the exact model that you were recommending to him. Yeah, we're not seeing any links. They must block them, yeah. That's probably, to prevent people from spamming porn sites or something like that into people's chats. But you know what, Mike? Do you have my email address? I was going to say you could email it to me, and then I could just like put it in the browser and put it on screen for Rodrigo. Or you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up I'm going to go to the website and see if I can find it, and I will bring it on the screen when I get it. So I gotta scroll up in the chat here and see the name again. I'm finding the spot. Okay. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this over here, make it full screen. So you want to go to Illumiglow, and then you want to go to where it says Electroluminescence, and scroll down here to where it says Astrophotography, EL Panels Astrophotography. And that'll bring you to this link here. And let's see, we're going to allow cookies, and you want to scroll down here. So here's an 8-inch, there's a 14-inch. Here's the 10-inch. So this is I think what you would probably want to look at. It's not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than a not a lot of details on it. And I think Mike said he recommended adding the frosted acrylic. What that does is it's a piece of frosted acrylic that you put in front of the LED panel, and that will even the lighting out even more. Again, the more even the light, the better your flats are going to be. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, everything's cheaper than OPT. The question is whether they will ship it to you. I didn't bother checking the website to see if they do worldwide or international shipping, but man, my guiding, what is going on with guiding tonight? It's a little better now, 0.7, but that's still, in my bank, that's horrible. All right, we're 5.5 minutes into this 10-minute exposure. I think this is going to be it, guys. Mike, see if you can chime in here. Is this the Seagull Nebula, or is this entire thing the Seagull Nebula with this being the head and this being the wings? Because I'm kind of seeing a seagull right here, like wings there and there with a body and a little bit of a head right there. I don't know. I don't know what the seagull is. I've never imaged it before. Getting probably close to a meridian flip. We still got another 45 minutes or so. I think I'm going to be calling it quits here, guys. Yeah, so this entire thing, as we look at it, so I would have to do like a mosaic, like here, probably 4 panels to get this entire thing in the shot. Maybe even more than that. I might have to do a 2x4 panel mosaic. I haven't messed around with any mosaics yet. But yeah, I was looking at... See, it doesn't look like a bird here, even though the Seagull Nebula is labeled here. As though this little patch right here is the Seagull Nebula. Oh, my buddy Glenn's here. Yahtzee with the kids. Yahtzee! Do you play Jenga? Have you guys ever played Jenga? I bet the kids would love Jenga. I'm sure you should get the jumbo Jenga. It's probably as tall as Evan. Jumbo Jenga. Okay, so we're back. So my buddy Glenn has chimed in just in time to say goodbye practically, because I think I'm going to wrap it up in about 2.5 minutes or so here whenever this last exposure comes in. Although before I do that, I want to check my my guider. You know, I bumped it with my head really hard the other night, and my alignment I know is off. So that's one thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to work on realigning my guide scope to the main scope. It's I have ADM rings on it, and it stays pretty solid even when I take it off of the scope. Nah, not tonight. I'm tired. I still gotta break all this down. Let's see, a minute and 15 seconds until our next exposure comes in. I'm going to... Not the alignment, yeah, well, the alignment of my skull got realigned, that's for sure. The guide scope is not in perfect alignment with the main scope, is what I was getting at, so, but yeah. Jumbo Jenga. Jumbo Jenga. Although they don't call it Jenga here. Why not? It's Jenga. Giant Jenga. It's over 5 feet tall. Evan wouldn't even be able to reach the top of this thing. Jet could barely reach the... I don't think Jet could reach the top of this thing. Holy moly. That's a little expensive too. Polar alignment on the mount is good. Oh, we finished our thing here. What is it doing? Huh. Okay. Alright guys, we're done. Let me look at my sequence here. Did I tell it to park the scope? I did tell it to park the mount, but it didn't go in the home position. It only went a part of the way. Alright, so it's warming up the camera. We're shutting everything down here. I am going to go ahead and... I did save those files, so I'll look at those in a little while in PixInsight. I'm going to shut everything, disconnect everything here. Yeah, that's true. It's not expensive compared to our Astro gear, that's for sure. Do you want to close the sequence and lose changes? Yes, I'm done with you. And I'm done with you. And we're going to stop this and disconnect the guider. And shut the PhD down. And the only thing that should be open now is my mount. So we'll tell it to go to the 0 position. Huh. 0 position. Search 0 position. Okay. It's not moving. I wonder if something happened out there. Alright guys. Well, that's it for the night. I'm sitting here in the dark and I'm getting ready to shut everything down and pack everything up. And we'll see you next time. Next time I think it's going to be just strictly imaging. Probably 4 hours of the Rosette Nebula. Just for you, Mike. You guys take care. Have a good night. Clear skies.